Welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today? Thank you so much for joining wherever you are in the world. Thank you for being here. I am recording this Thursday afternoon on a very windy Melbourne day. It's cracking weather. It's beautiful and sunny outside, but damn, it's windy. If you're picking up some background noise, it might just be the windows rattling every now and then. So I'll try my best as possible to clean all that up before I publish. So look, a few things to talk about today. I'll try and power through them as best we can. It's an international break. At the time of recording, I'm not aware if any actual matches have been played. I don't think so. I had a quick search this morning. Look, there are many Arsenal players in action, of course, as you come to expect now that Arsenal are pretty damn good. So we have a number of players who are selected for their national teams, and I always I have that sense of dread. Right, I'm just going to wake up one morning and see a report published, and I think you all know what I'm referring to, right? How many times have we been spurned by internationals and losing players to injuries? So look, hopefully this one's okay, because we came through unscathed last time, and we put a very impressive run of form together, didn't we? It seems like it was just a short break in between those two international periods, something like 2 or 3 weeks, but in that time, I mean, if you just want to recap quickly, we went into the first international break off the back of that last-minute loss to Liverpool from that world-class free kick, and there was a fair bit to say about Arsenal in the wash-up and the narrative, and if you're a repeat listener on this channel, you know how I quite often talk about the narrative around Arsenal, the pressure cooker we're under. There's certain segments of the media that just thrive on this stuff, right? It's very clickbaity, so. It's quite predictable even, right? Now all of a sudden, now that Arsenal put together a good run of form, which is thankfully coincided with Liverpool having a bit of a dip, now all of a sudden the narrative seems to have shifted a little bit. And I'm seeing headlines and YouTube thumbnails around Arsenal are clear favourites for the title and all that related sort of stuff. So it's just wild how quickly things can swing. I mean, it's that reactive industry that we're now in. And look, it's October. Arsenal are 1 point ahead. It's just wild. I mean, for context, there's 31 matches to go. It's so early. So much still will happen. Arsenal will have dips in form just like everyone else, and it's a matter of how much can we limit that poor run of form, or whatever you want to call it. Right? We are well stocked. We are well prepared. Intentionally so with the decisions we've made this summer. So it's just a matter of not everything is going to be smooth sailing, and nothing is. Nothing's handed to you on a platter in life, right? You got to work for it. You got to earn it. And Arsenal at this point in time are well placed. However, it's just so much to go. So I tried as much as I try and limit how much I click on or read those articles. I mean, I can't escape it, because every time I open YouTube, for example, I mean, it's the algorithm, right? It knows what sells, and I see all these various channels. Apparently, I saw, was it this morning or last night? I saw there's a TalkSport Arsenal channel, like literally TalkSport Arsenal. It came up as I might be showing my age. I might be well behind the time, but like, when did that happen? Like, how is there now a dedicated TalkSport Arsenal related channel? And they get a lot of engagement with Arsenal. The pundits that they have, and that they know exactly what they're doing, and it's just one of those things that you can't really escape it. It's just there. It's a matter of choose wisely what you choose to consume. That's just one of the things I always bang on about here. If it's not serving you well, if it doesn't place you in a good state of mind, I would encourage you to question those choices. How much do you want to participate in those types of media, those types of forums, and hopefully it means that you tune in to me more, because that was I guess it was a long way of saying that. I just look here. I just try and talk about what I think is more of a reasonable, balanced set of comments. Arsenal are very well placed. Don't get me wrong. However, am I looking that far ahead? I'm not. I mean, you can't help it. You can't help but sort of dream, of course, of what Arsenal can achieve this season. You look at our squad on paper, you look at some of the players who are going to be returning in the coming months, and of course, you can't help but dream. But so much still has to go right, and you still have to work damn hard for it. that Newcastle match, for example, right? Like we battered them in the first half, but then out of nowhere we're a goal down, and we only win it in the final minute. You got to work so damn hard. This league is as competitive as in my 30 years watching Arsenal. It's as competitive as it's ever been. You've got to work every single match. You've got to work damn hard for every point. And look, Arsenal are well placed at the moment. So that was a long intro. Sorry for that. I tend to get distracted in my own thoughts. So a few things I'll cover today. Just very briefly, I'll cover topics such as Ødegaard's injury. I'll answer some listener questions as well. So thank you for those who submitted feedback. I mean, I've got 2 questions, which is fantastic. It's the most I've ever received, so I'm blessed with that. It just reminds me of that Simpsons scene. You know, the switchboards are lining up like 2 callers. That's our best ever. It reminded me of that. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll tackle them towards the end of the recording and touch on some other things. There's some stadium announcement. Sorry, pardon me, not announcement. Some stadium expansion plans that has been that's just circulated through the media. Visit Rwanda sponsorship as well. I also want to chime in on my thoughts around that. So look, before I launch straight into the Odegaard injury, what I want to say is this doesn't affect YouTube viewers, so please bear with me for a moment. If you're listening on your podcast feeds, I'm sorry, there's been some technical issues. You may or may not have noticed that I've had a host of episodes the last 3 or 4 weeks just vanish. Long story short, I'll spare you all the details. No one's interested, I'm sure. But I've switched podcasting hosts. I've lost some content. I'm sorry. There's been a few recent episodes that have been re-uploaded, but that's going to be it. I'm not going to go dig back every single recording from the last 3 or 4 weeks and republish them, because you're going to get that bombarded in your feed. And look, to be honest as well, I don't know how much appetite there is for people to go back and listen to say that Liverpool post-match review recording. Now, football moves on so quickly, right? Life moves on so quickly. I don't think there's much point in me going back that far and republishing. So pleasingly, this should be it now. This is permanent. That it is now current, up to date, and hopefully you won't see any more duplication. What I will say though, if you are interested, YouTube is unaffected, so all of my past episodes are all published there. If you wanted to go to listen to any of that sort of stuff, or even I did a episode which I think I'll need to redo actually, about the Arsenal pressure cooker in the media narrative as well. I think that's one that's worthy of a refresh anyway. So that's so thank you for bearing with me with that. Martin Ødegaard has done his MCL, so it's one of those things where look, is a worst case scenario? No, because those sorts of knee on knee injuries, they can be much more severe. I've seen them as well. I mean, in Australia, there's Australian rules football. I mean, they dubbed this sort of knee on knee contact, they call it the ruckman's injury, where 2 players sort of just go head on into each other with their knees colliding, making contact, and some of the fallout from that can be very nasty. It could be PCL injuries, posterior cruciate ligaments, and that's like a 6-monther, for example. So when I first saw it, and I saw the impact, and I saw where Odegaard took it, I was thinking, damn. I was thinking in that sort of realm, but thankfully it's not. I'm not gonna try and dress this up as good news, because it's absolutely not. Odegaard has been an unbelievable form. That little patch of form he put together in the week before getting injured was just magnificent against Olympiacos, and his cameo against Newcastle, he changed the match. He changed the game. So there's absolutely no scenario where this is good news. If it's going to be some kind of knee damage or ligament damage, at least this is the one, I guess, out of the alternatives. I mean, they're all pretty nasty in their own right, but thankfully, it's. Well, what was interesting to me actually with the I love that I'm a bit of a devil's in the detail type of guy. So when I read the statement, if it's something that's really severe that requires surgical procedure, or something that's going to put someone out for months, recently Arsenal would publish that. They would set a rough indicative timeline, or even sort of mention that surgery is involved. They didn't in this statement, so I'm hoping maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe this is one of those things where they're confident that Ødegaard can just heal in the coming weeks, and who knows, he might be back sooner than we think. But then again, just knowing sometimes how I curse things, by the time I publish this, maybe there's another statement released by the club that indicates something else. But look, I fingers crossed that he's okay, because like I said, there's no there's no good scenario about this. Like Odegaard, losing him for a period of time, it ain't great for Arsenal. Yes, we are well stocked now. We have made decisions in the transfer market to mitigate these sorts of absences. However, there's no replacing him. Right? It's similar to as good as Madueke was before he got injured, unfortunately, in deputising for Saka on the right. There's no replacement for Saka. It's just your best players, your elite world-class players. They're one of a kind. So we have options, thankfully, and we're going to need to call upon them all until Odegaard is back. But the sooner he's back doing his thing in an Arsenal shirt, the better for all of us. The better for all of us. So best wishes to him in his recovery. Stadium expansion plans. So it's really interesting because I think that was something that the club has been working on for some time anyway. And with those boardroom changes that were announced about a month ago, with Tim Lewis departing and some additions to the Arsenal board, there were some individuals who have significant commercial real estate development backgrounds that are known to KSE, that are known to the Cronkies, that have worked on the SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. So with their additions to the board, you can kind of see the pathway where this is headed. So I just think we're so far away from anything concrete in regards to that, because look, all my London viewers will know this much better than me. I'm all the way over here in Melbourne, right? However, from what I hear is it's an incredibly congested area. There isn't really that much space to do a knockdown rebuild or anything. There's all sorts of restrictions with council permits. Arsenal went through a lot of red tape to even build the Emirates, 20 odd years ago. So it's just going to be a very, very slow moving thing, and it's just going to be a very difficult thing to do. Expanding it to 70,000, right? I think that's been indicated, or more. Yes, that's going to provide a significant revenue boost. However, it's a matter of like, how are they going to do it? We just don't know. It's so early, and nothing really has come out from the club around it. I'm sure they're doing their discovery work internally. So just keep an eye out for that before I comment too much further. Speaking of the stadium, and maybe this is just classic international break lulls, and you need something to talk about, so let's create something to talk about. Speaking of the stadium, I see the atmosphere has come under the question. Look, I even mentioned it in my post-match recording after West Ham. It did seem a bit subdued, a bit flat, and I've learnt a lot since then, listening to others who talk about it with more authority. Again, noting that I'm all the way over here in Melbourne, right? So it's not my place. I will listen before I talk too much more about it. So I learnt a lot from that. And what really struck me is that look, even though I'm all the way over here, right, I'm still like everyone else. I'm still a human being with bills to pay, right? I've got kids. You've got financial responsibilities, commitments. What's interesting now is that Arsenal have a block of time now where they don't leave London. There's a lot of matches in London. There was back-to-back consecutive home matches. The Champions League against the Olympiacos backed up a few days later with West Ham. So it's understandable that there might have been some empty seats or some last-minute changes or people leaving early or doing the ticket exchange thing. And look, I'm in no position at all to judge, other than I get it from a parent point of view. If you're there's things are expensive. I mean, things are damn expensive everywhere. There's financial responsibilities, commitments we have, and when you start to look at your bills and you start to look at your discretionary spending, one of the first things to go are things like sport, entertainment. I totally understand that. I can completely empathize. If people are not in the position to go to to 4 or 5 out of 5 matches and they look to create alternatives or on sell, I totally get it. It's for me, I totally resonate, because you pull back, right? You pare back on this type of spend, because life is expensive. Ticket prices are just like mind blowing, especially when it comes to Champions League and of course, and just these ticket prices, they only go one direction. They only increase, just like everything else. Groceries increases, insurances, fuel, petrol. My God, everything's just on the same. It's on the same trajectory, right? There's very little respite. There's very little relief for families under financial pressure. So I totally understand that. So, and I learned a lot from listening to people with a lot more knowledge about it than me. So moving on, before I get to some listener questions, what did I want to talk about next? Yes. So I saw yesterday that Arsenal are in discussions to extend the Visit Rwanda sponsorship. So look, I was wondering how much time and energy to devote to this topic, but look, I can't not pass on my thoughts about it. Look, similar to, and I guess maybe I'll lose some viewers from this, and like I did when I spoke about the Thomas Partey. When that happened, I've just, my God, it's even mentioning that name. I feel like the life sucked out of me for a moment. Like for me, values matter. Who represents you, it matters. Like Arsenal, for a long, long period of time, have had, well, rightly or wrongly, have had a reputation of doing things in a certain way, being a classy institution, a classy club, a club of respect, of dignity. And the Thomas Partey thing, it really, really rocked me to my core. And I remember when I spoke about it now, and maybe the same thing will happen. Not everyone agreed with me, and that's totally fine. You're all entitled to your opinion. I received some pretty vocal feedback on that. Even some people who were letting me know they'll they're out, they're unfollowing, unsubscribing, and I totally get it. If it's not, yeah, I totally get it. It was a bit strange, like I quite liken it to like an airport announcement. You don't have to announce your departure, right? You don't have to let me know that you're on the way. That's totally fine. And if the same thing will happen now, then no ill will. Best wishes to all of you. I'm certainly not pretending to be too sanctimonious or anything, and I hope I'm not coming across that way. Values matter, and the Thomas Partey, the way that was handled, specifically around extending his contract or looking to extend his contract. This is the most contentious point for me, and then I'll bring it back down to the Visit Rwanda sponsorship. Is that in business, right? You make commitments to each other. You sign binding legal agreements, contracts that you are obligated to fulfill. And of course, that with it comes a whole set of legal complications and consequences for one party to not fulfill or not. I totally understand that. That's just the way the corporate world works. It's just the way big businesses, institutions work. I totally understand that. With Thomas Partey's situation, Arsenal were provided with a natural endpoint, that his contract was coming to a natural end anyway, and that was an excellent time that we can move forward and we can move in a different direction, and so can he as well, because your obligations to each other cease at an agreed endpoint, and you can move in a certain other direction. Similar to Visit Rwanda, we obviously you go into these transactions knowing what you know at the time, and afterwards new information comes. With Visit Rwanda, we know so much about now the links between that government and genocide happening in Congo, and for me that matters. That matters when I see the Visit Rwanda logo on our shirts and the shirts that I buy, and sometimes you see me wear them as well. Like it affects me, because that, I don't believe that's representative of Arsenal as a club. I yeah, it hurts. It hurts to see that, because we now know, now that we are armed with new information, I feel we have an obligation, a moral right to choose intentionally, to choose wisely. When you then look to extend the current position beyond its natural endpoint, that's different now. That is completely different, because that is essentially saying that with the benefit of new information that has come to light since you entered into the agreement, you are now choosing, willfully choosing, to continue your association with that individual, or in this case, that government. And that's what troubles me, because effectively that's an endorsement. That's basically what I'm saying. You're essentially, in choosing intentionally to continue your association with said parties, you are endorsing that information, and you are effectively saying, in a roundabout way, you're saying, I'm okay with this. Yeah, I know, but we're going to move forward together. And that's the really troubling part with me. And with Thomas, we looked to extend his contract. It only broke down for this. This is not me speculating, by the way. This is, I'm relying upon heavily sourced information from the likes of James McNicholas and David Ornstein, etc. Right. So it only broke down because of salary, because of Arsenal's offer. So to me, I'm really troubled by that. I still am. I'm really uncomfortable even talking about it now. We had a natural endpoint. We chose not to take it. We chose to we chose to seek to extend our association with that individual. And with Visit Rwanda, it looks like we are going to do it again. And I think this one's inevitable. Unfortunately, it's inevitable because when I read the article, my heart sunk a bit when I got to the part towards the end of the article from The Athletic that the Clippers and the Rams have extended their deals as well. Obviously, two key franchises under the KSC ownership. So to me, this is inevitable. That tells you everything. That obviously that directive is coming from ownership, from the Cronkies, from Josh and or Stan, and it just seems inevitable now. So like you like why would they extend their associations but Arsenal wouldn't? Like it to me, it doesn't really make natural logical sense. So for me, it's difficult. It's a hard one to talk about, and if you've put up with me through these last few minutes, thank you so much. I don't pretend to be a big content creator or a big podcaster. I have a wonderful, loyal group of listeners, and I thank you so much for that. I'm not going to pretend to be in any position of influence that anyone should listen to me or do as I say. I'm not pretending that whatsoever. I do feel, though, whether I have a listenership of 5 people or 50 or 500, that I have an obligation to speak my truth, to speak my experience. And that's how I feel on the matter. Values to me matter. Who represents you matters. It does. And I look to some when I associate Arsenal, I associate someone like take Bukayo Saka. Like, to me, he is everything. He embodies Arsenal purely from his Arsenal's soul. And to me, that's the type of person that I feel proud to be associated with, who represents our club as an ambassador. He's like that to me. He's like a global ambassador for Arsenal, and he to me encompasses what's good and what's great about this club. And I love the club. I still do. I mean, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be consistently waking up at 11 o'clock, 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. to watch Arsenal. I do this multiple times a week, and it takes its toll as I get older. It really does. I'm really feeling it. This international break has come at a good time because I feel like I need a little bit of a break. It's been quite exhausting, and then to record afterwards as well, right? So I've been struggling to adjust with that pace. But I wouldn't do this if I didn't love the club, and that whole situation makes me feel quite uncomfortable, and I'm not particularly pleased about it. So look, I think I will bring that point to a close. Thank you again for listening to all of that. Now, on hopefully a more of a positive note, I will just come down to now. So I've got some listener questions as well. So I want to get to. I'm going to switch gears now. So thank you to 2 of my most loyal listeners who have been with me from the absolute start. Thank you so much to both of you. I will start with on Instagram, Allard. Wonderful message. So thank you so much for this, Allard. You make some great points. So I will read his message. I wonder how we'll deal with the pressure and expectations. I'm almost struggling to enjoy our wins and my permanently clenched teeth. Oh, that speaks to my soul, by the way. I get it. And I really feel this will either be a 3-horse race or more likely between us and City than us and Liverpool. Who do you think we'll battle against? Yeah, look, great question, mate. Great talking points. There's a couple of things happening there in your message. So I'll start with the first one. Pressure and expectations. I mean, I talk about this all the time. Like, Arsenal are under such intense scrutiny. It just feels like we're one draw away from like some kind of crisis, right? Or just one scenario of a drop in points, and it's just all they're just going to pile on. And I know they will because it's so predictable. There are literally people waiting for Arsenal to slip up. The knives are sharpened. It doesn't take much. It might even be that Arsenal win, but we don't win well enough, or we don't win by high enough, or we miss some chances, or that they'll dissect the game, they'll magnify anything they possibly can, such as Gyökeres. Is Gyökeres working? Should we have bought him or Sesko? Like it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop until Arsenal win. And I think what helps me is that try not to buy too much into that. Try not to feed into all that kind of narrative, because internally internally in the club, they project a very composed, assured mentality that is not reflected in the media coverage of Arsenal. There's always something they're trying to pot Arsenal for, but inside from the club, when you hear the players talk, you see how calm and composed they are, right? That you can see it's a shared vision. They know what we're going for. They know what we're trying to do, and I take a lot of comfort from that. That as long as they're projecting that sense of stability and assurance, things will be okay. So it's really hard not to get too sucked into, like, during certain game states. Like I'm nervous, right? I am, like, until, we've been here before. Even though we're 1-0 ahead, until we get that second goal, we've been here before. We saw last season. I mean, no one needs me to tell them that the stat about points dropped from winning positions. So more goals, please. If we can put the matches away earlier, we can change things up from the bench, manage minutes, manage key players, and so far we're doing that. So as long as that continues, then I think that will go a long, long way towards appeasing some of those nervous moments. In terms of City or Liverpool, I think City, it's Haaland dependent big time. Like this, he's a machine. He's scoring goals for fun at them. I mean, he always has, to be honest. But some of the goals he's scoring, like, this guy's unbelievable. If he stays fit, I'm probably just as worried about. Or when I say worried, I wouldn't say worried in that sort of sense. I'm just as wary of them as I have of Liverpool. I think Liverpool would click. I mean, similar to us, they bought a host of new players, integrating them as we speak in real time. They're quite vulnerable at the back as well. So I'm probably look. It's not going to last, of course. Everyone is entitled to one bad week, a couple of bad results in a row, and it just so happens to be that they lost 3 consecutive matches. On another day, maybe it's 2 losses and a draw or something, right? These things even themselves out over time. But at the moment, I'd be keeping, for me, Alad, I'd be keeping more an eye on City. If Haaland stays fit, they're just, they're something else. Like that guy he's like the Terminator. Like he's actually. Has anyone seen him smile? Right. It's just a running joke I have with a few mates. Like, this guy's like the Terminator. He's an absolute goal machine. And as long as he's doing his thing, they're going to be right up there for sure. Okay, so thank you for that question. So I'll round off now with Matt's all folks on Blue Sky. Matt, thank you again, mate, for all your support and your comments. So he's got a question for me. Which of our 8 new signings I'll read it out I'll quote it from his point of view. Which of our 8 new signings do you think will have the biggest impact throughout the season? And which signing do you think will be the biggest surprise? So I think the biggest impact throughout the season, I think it's going to be Eza. There's something joyous about him from the moment he was announced, right? And all the beautiful clips, all the stuff that's come out from the club. Geez, they did that so well, by the way. That Ian Wright interview still gets me when I think about it. I think Eza is, every now and then, that the planets align, that you've got the right player at the right time at the right club, and he just seems to just enjoy doing his thing. Like he's just a throwback to just like a joyous, creative, freedom, like a free type of roaming, attacking minded football. He's beautiful to watch. Very elegant footballer as well, very skillful. I think he's going to be so important for Arsenal, especially now. You look at a situation like now with Odegaard out. I think that's his position to start with. Of course, we've got Marino there, we've got Waneri there. They're all going to get their minutes here, but I think Eza is going to be absolutely crucial. And so far, I think we'll be okay at left wing, because Trossard and Martinelli, even though their minutes has been, they haven't had as many starts as always. Martinelli's become more, a bit of a impact player from the bench, but they're scoring goals. Like we're getting good output from the left-hand side. So I think we're okay there. Eza to me is the one. In terms of surprise signing, well, I think it's kind of already happened. I think Madueke, he surprised me for sure. Even though I didn't get drawn into some of the hoo-ha that was happening when his name was linked with Arsenal and all the other crap that just shouldn't happen. The fan petitions and graffiti. I mean, it's all just laughable stuff. I mean, that stuff should never have happened. What we should know by now is that we should have enough faith that if Arsenal and Arteta have identified a certain individual, you got to trust that. We've identified certain attributes, and until you've seen them for a significant period of time in an Arsenal shirt, to what they've been identified for, you can't judge too much. And Eza, I think with Eza, it's the same, right? Had he been signed first, I don't think the noise would have been as loud around Madueke. But in turn, Madueke, his impact, his first few matches, especially when Saka got injured, I loved it. This guy, he's got the freedom from his manager. He's got the trust and support of his manager and teammates. And to go out there and do his thing, it was so lovely to see. It was just great. And I remember, I forgot which match was it? Was it against was it the Forest match at home a couple of weeks back? And it was like between the 15-minute mark or 20-minute mark, you heard the chants from the crowd. Oh, Noni Madueke. I loved it. Like how he needed that. Like because that tells you everything. There's a lot of noise everywhere in the world, right? Circulated online, but it's not representative of what the match-going fans think and what internally what the club think. And pay more attention to that. That is what really spoke volumes to me, and that was really, really pleasing to see. I love this signing. I'm looking forward to him being back because he's going to be a weapon on either flank in either game state. He's direct, runs at his fullback, consistently beats them. The only thing that's missing at this point in time is just that end product. But let's be honest, he's young. He's still adapting as well. Similar to Gyökeres, maybe he played more minutes than originally anticipated in that integration period because with Gyökeres, we don't really have an alternative. Havertz is out, Jesus is out. That wasn't part of the plan. And Madueke had to deputise for Saka, which again wasn't part of the plan for Saka to be injured so early in the season. So give them time, utilise correctly. I'm very, very confident we've got what we're going to see. So thank you, both of you, for your questions. I keep an eye on the time. This one's blown out a little bit more than what I thought, probably because I do tend to ramble on a few tangents from time to time. So look, thank you so much for listening. As always, please, I welcome any feedback, any comments, suggestions. If you agree, disagree, please do let me know. I'll read every single word and I'll be grateful for any feedback. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider liking and subscribing. Your podcast platforms, please consider a review. I've noticed that I've got more reviews now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so thank you so much. It really does help visibility and engagement for this podcast. So thank you so much for supporting me. Just a stay-at-home dad podcaster having a crack. So I really, really appreciate the community I've built here. You guys are all awesome. I will catch up with you again soon. I'll try and record something again over the weekend. And and look, until then, look after yourselves, check in with your loved ones, and come on, Arsenal. Thank you.